a nice little stress ball actually. There's a little cape to keep you warm. Hi, I'm Pauline from KnotFastFashion and welcome to my vlog. In this video, I'm going to be finishing up my Enchanted leaf circle blanket and turning that into a rose bouquet blanket. Basically, it is a circle blanket with stems and leaves that are all 3D and integrated into the blanket. Here's the progress on the leaf blanket so far. It currently measures about 46 inches in diameter and I'm aiming for about 50, so I'm thinking that once I finish the last leaf row I have, then it should be the correct diameter that I'm aiming for. And then I need to figure out how I'm going to design the border to hold the roses and then sew and add all of the roses. Right here you can see that I've made a ton of roses that I still need to sew up. I think there's about 20 of them right now and I'm thinking that I'll need at least 30 for the blanket. I'm hoping to get most of this done today, but we'll see how that goes. It is currently 9:45 a.m. and I do have plans later in the evening around 6 p.m. So I went into the kitchen to grab something to eat and I looked at my sourdough starter and it looked like it was gonna pop out of the little jar. So I decided that it was time to make some focaccia. So here's my focaccia dough and go eat real quick. Okay, so I took a quick break to go make some food and it's currently cooking, so I have about 20-ish minutes to crochet before it's done and I'll go take a food break. Okay, my 20-minute timer for my food just went off, but I just have this much yarn, so I'm just gonna finish it and then go eat. I just finished that ball of yarn, so I'm gonna go eat and then grab another ball of yarn and then we'll resume finishing up this blanket. So I just got done making this Mediterranean bowl for brunch, but what I really want to show you guys is this bowl that I painted. So I painted this little calico cat, these balls of yarn, and this cat playing with butterflies, this gray cat laying down, and this orange cat chasing a ball of yarn, and some random plants here and there. We are currently at 11:32 a.m. I'm going to add this ball of yarn to my end and then we'll see where we're at when I finish another row to finish off the leaf that I'm working on. I just finished the row I was working on and right now we are at 49 inches. So this is round 33 for me and I actually designed this to be 37 rows based off of my initial gauge. So I'm going to take a quick minute to update my pattern on my Procreate and we'll work on the last round and continue. So this is what the pattern looks like on my Procreate. I drew it as a chart and I'm kind of charting out each row as I go. I initially created this Enchanted Leaf circle blanket as a pillow pattern and then I extended it for the blanket. Obviously I don't need these extra rows right here. So I'm going to go ahead and fix that. I'm actually just working with one slice of this pie and then duplicating it across, so that's why you see these weird gaps. They're not actually in the pattern, but I will write this out as a written description for the final pattern. I'm still pretty new to drawing crochet charts, but I find them really helpful, especially for this design since we have a lot of complicated stitches and it would require a lot of writing and typing if I were to write out the pattern for every single row by hand, and it's easier to visualize what I'm doing when I draw it out as a chart. So that's why I drew it as a chart, even though I'm more of a chart newbie. We're going to continue with this last row and I'm gonna hope that the couple changes I did to the last row will flatten out any waviness at the edge of the blanket. So I'm going to watch Passionate Kelsey for a bit.
Pretty sure I sold the other one of this because I made 2 of them. I only made 1 in the pink video, but I made another one last night because I was like, I'm sure people will like it, so I'm just gonna make another one. It needs a tag though before we can pack it.
So I just finished my last row on the blankets, so I'm gonna check the diameter and the weight and see if we truly are done or if I need to add a row or so. So I just measured the diameter and it looks like we are just exactly at 50 inches, or you could also say 128 centimeters, 127, 128. I'm gonna take this blanket real quick and weigh it so I can figure out how much yarn I used. So here's the blanket rolled up, so you can see that the leaves go up on the outside of the blanket, and then when I unroll it, it's pretty big. And you can use it as a little cape to keep you warm. When I weighed this, it was about 1,595 grams. So a little bit more than 5 balls of yarn, so about 5 to 6 balls of yarn to complete this 50-inch blanket. Now I'm going to go ahead and work on roses that I crocheted up yesterday night that I'm gonna sew up, and then I need to make maybe about 10 more, but I'm just gonna sew these up real quick. Great. I should really reorganize this bag because it is a complete and utter mess right now. So I got this bag on recommendation by one of my favorite crochet artists, All About Amy, and it's nice because you can just put your hooks in these slots. I'm just gonna fit 2 in each slot. I'll need the 6mm crochet hook later to make more roses, so I'm gonna set that aside. Okay, we are now organized. So I was able to get 14 roses out of 1 cake of Bernat Blanket Ombre. So I'm gonna time how long it took me to make. It will take me to sew 14 roses into rose heads. The rose pattern comes from my pattern for fluffy roses, which you can find on my YouTube channel or on my Etsy or Ravelry, but I'm just making this top part right here. So without further ado, let's get started. I'm going to set aside 14 roses, so 1, 2, 14. Oh wow, that's basically all of them. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started turning these into roses. And I'm going to start a timer. Actually, maybe it's easier if I like stick a pencil through it or something. Okay, I'm going to take a quick pause to experiment real quick. I'm such a genius. Like, this looks so good. Maybe it's a little bit tight, but it looks so much better than what I've made here. I need to update my tutorial now. Okay, let's go ahead and try sewing this before I get too excited. Okay, the moment of truth. We're going to release this pencil. And okay, so not a bad hack. The petals do come down like this, which is good if you want kind of a flatter rose. If you want it to be more quilled in like this, I think you have to still like just do it by hand. But I actually really like this. Okay, I'm going to grab a little bit more light pink yarn to properly fasten this off, because this tail ain't gonna work. One rose sewn and done. That took me about 5 minutes and 42 seconds. Hopefully the rest don't take as long, but we'll see. We're gonna use this trick again because I like it. It'll help me be more consistent. Okay, we're gonna actually use a shorter pencil for this, so it works a little bit better, I think. So stab, stab. Stab. And then you can control how loose you want the rose too, which is pretty cool, just depending on how far apart you space the things. Okay, here we are. And then, I cut a short tail for this too. Gosh darn it. Okay. So we're going to whip stitch this part. In place. Oops. And then run the yarn through row 1. It's a nice little stress ball, actually. Okay. That took me 3 minutes, so getting more efficient, that's good. Okay, we just finished 14 roses and it took me about 48 minutes to sew them. And I just crocheted up a white one. I'm not sure if I want to add it to the overall rose blanket. I'll just put up an Instagram poll to see what my followers on there think. Meanwhile, I'll make more of these darker color roses. This is roughly what it'll look like if we just stick to the darker reds and pinks. And then if we add white, then it'll look roughly like this. I'm not really sure why, but when I worked up the white flower, it ended up looking a lot smaller than the other roses. I might try a 6.5mm hook, or maybe it's just how I rolled it a little bit tighter so it's a taller flower. If you look at the yarn, they're roughly the same thickness, so there's no reason why the white flower should be smaller than the others. Maybe I'll make another white one and see how it looks rolled up less tightly, then we can compare. They look the same size. So I just finished working up, I just dropped it. I just finished working up both roses and it seems like they are both the same size. So yeah, it just had to do with how I rolled it. But if you do like a taller flower, you roll it so that the bottom captures more of this base here, then you get a taller flower, and that's good for if you are making these roses. Okay, it is currently 3:52 p.m. I'm gonna work up a few more roses and then maybe head to Joann's to pick up some more yarn for the other red blanket that I'm working on, and then I'm headed out to my friend's birthday. So I've crocheted up 5 roses to sew up, and it's currently 5:06 p.m. I think I'll actually hit up Joann's tomorrow and order the yarn for pickup online. I just finished up the white ball of yarn I had, and right now I have 8 flowers to sew up, and it is 5:39 p.m. so I'm going to try to sew them up before I leave. It is 6:10 and I have 4 white roses now, and I'll finish up the last 3 or so roses when I come back. Hello, I am back. It is currently 9:57 p.m. and I picked up my Joann's order. Originally I was gonna pick it up tomorrow, but on my way out to meet my friends, I noticed that Joann's order was already ready for pickup, and Joann's was pretty close to where my friends were having dinner. So lucky me, don't have to drive out tomorrow. I'm going to finish up the roses that I have sitting right here, and then I'm going to head to bed, sleep, and finish up the blanket probably tomorrow. We finished all our roses, and then we have 3 extra, assuming everyone votes to include white. If people don't vote to include white, then I guess I'll make 5 more flowers. Good morning. So I couldn't sleep last night at 10. I finished all the roses that I need, and I looked at the Instagram poll, and it looked like most of my followers were like, yeah, add white. Well, it's like a slight majority. It's like, I think about 60 something percent versus 40 something percent. So not a huge lead, but I already made the white roses, so I'm happy I don't have to do more work. I am going to be adding my calyxes, figuring out what process is the most efficient to attach them all. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, so I was trying to decide how I would place the roses at even intervals, and I tried taking the number of stitches and dividing it by 3, but I found that that didn't work because the tension where the leaf is and where the stem is pretty tight, so then it looks a little bit off. So what I decided to do instead is we're just going to measure the length of this and divide that by 3 and place stitch markers. You can also just eyeball it. I ran out of the plastic stitch markers I was using, so we're gonna use these metal ones. Just keep losing them all over the place. It's really bad. Okay, I finished adding all my stitch markers. I'm treating the stem here as a stitch marker since it protrudes from the blanket and you can see it really well. I guess you can't really see my stitch markers because they're metal, small, and blue. I'm gonna go ahead and attach the calyxes. Here's how the rose looks like on the bed, and it's pretty secure, so I think I'll continue with this particular method for all the roses. I just finished 6 roses and they look pretty cute. It is 3:38 p.m. and I just finished adding calyxes to every single part of the blanket where I marked it. So I'm going to take a quick lunch break. I know it's kind of late for lunch, and then I'm going to work on the roses. I just finished eating and it is currently 5:39 p.m. I realized that I forgot to film a tutorial of how I made the calyxes, so I'll work up another sample later, but right now I'm going to film the tutorial for how I attach the roses to the calyxes before I get into the groove and forget. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. It is 5:52 p.m. and I just finished filming the tutorial. I'm going to work on attaching more roses to this and maybe timing how long it takes me to sew on 12 roses. Alright, it is 9:38 p.m. and I am officially done attaching all the roses. I'm so happy. So this is the finished Enchanted Roses Bouquet blanket design. You can see that the roses are beautiful and it looks lovely wrapped up as this bouquet. I'm actually filming this literally 4 months after I filmed the majority of the vlog and about a month after I've already released the pattern. So I haven't quite figured out my process for filming and editing vlogs, but if you really like this content, please drop a comment down below and I'll try to release more regular vlog content for y'all. But yeah, I hope that you get the opportunity to work on this design. The pattern is linked down in this vlog as well. If you'd like to see more designs from me, please follow me at KnotFastFashion on Instagram, TikTok, or here on YouTube. Don't forget to click subscribe and the notification bell. And you can check out another video from me linked right here. I hope to see you again soon and happy crafting!